G'day and welcome. I quite often feel overwhelmed with the generosity with my silly little projects, and I understand that there are many people who get irritated by the fact I keep chopping and changing and jumping between projects. But some people have the grace to sort of run with it, and I think that's really kind. Judd Lewis in Croydon has donated this left-hand rear door handle for an XC, and if you remember, I was particularly displeased with the reproduction ones. This is a genuine one, and this was the one that I actually had to modify to get to fit the car, the reproduction one. This is perfect, and it's all clean through here. It's wonderful, and this can certainly be painted black. Neil McClymont, an old school friend, pointed out that I put the wrong door handles on. They should be black on a Fairmont GXL. And so, Judd, thanks very much indeed for this. It's absolutely wonderful. And when I find the other three, and I'll buy them, I'm not expecting people to give them to me, then I'll paint them black and put them on the car. So again, Judd, thanks so much. I've opened this because it's got my address on the top. Nathan Hickey is another one, and he has donated lots of stuff. In fact, he offered me a bunch of Holden red motor stuff, and I declined it for now. I might still buy it from him because we're going with a grey motor on this EJ project. But it's all been sort of in bits for a long time, and it's kind of derelict. Now, if it turns out we've got, a bunch of cracked cranks and cracked heads and that, I might have to go with a red motor. And there was a chap in Queensland that offered me a 186 and a 3-speed manual from an HG. I'd love to say yes to that. That'd be wonderful, but I kind of feel guilty, being the recipient of all this stuff. Nathan's latest spout of generosity is this wonderful heating vent for the XC, and finding these things in good condition is like finding a needle in a haystack. And this was one of the last bits I needed for the interior. So he's also supplied that grommet for one of the sun visors he donated as well. So Nathan, again, thanks so much for that. It's certainly something which will get used in the car, and for that I feel very grateful. And that brings me to Harvey. Harvey strikes again. I had no idea he was going to send me this. So it's not a jack, there's a bunch of parts in here, and I think I started to pull the box apart, and there's loads of paper and all that sort of stuff in here. So I'll just pull bits out of here, one by one, and I'll show you what Harvey's done. Because at the moment, all I've seen was he sent a letter, and again, I had no idea about this. I was sitting on the kitchen bench when I got home from work, and he's got a whole bunch of stuff in here that's I don't know what to say. I'm so stoked. So let's have a bit of a look. Oh my gosh. Okay. What's he got here? XD oil pressure sender unit. Now these things don't come cheap. They're terribly expensive. And I'd like to reimburse you for that, Harvey. That's wonderful. My oil pressure gauge on the XD, I've got a light rigged up because the oil pressure sender never worked. Or at least the one I bought for it was the wrong resistance, and this one is the key out of that. He's got a additional Suzuki instruments. My gosh. Hang on a minute, I need a blade. What am I doing with my blades? I haven't got many left. This guy's a magician. I sent him a bunch of instruments for the Suzuki, the T250, and he's overhauled this set again. And he wasn't sure about what went on the back, but gee whiz, my gosh. He actually had to fit a new odometer to that. How do you use these? Oh yeah, that's your trip meter. Hang on. Amazing. And there's a tack here as well. And the tack had a fault because the hairspring was rusted. But he still managed to... And the other thing is the lenses were broken. He's turned some new lenses and put them in. I don't know how you do it. This is... People say I'm pretty good at what I do. I'm not this good. I mean, this is simply the work of a magician. So I have to find a very safe spot to put those. And he had to make new lenses. Yeah, he couldn't salvage them, but he's used acrylic in them as well. So, I mean, have a look at that. The hairspring, he's done something else with that. and wasn't able to salvage the old one, but he said, if I hadn't told you about it, you wouldn't know. So Harvey, stop being kind to me. We've also got, this is a second-hand cluster lens, and I ended up taking the one out of my XD and replacing it with a standard one, because the one I had, or the one it had, was so knackered that I had to drill it, and I drilled it in slightly the wrong place. So he's obviously seen that. This guy doesn't miss anything. He picks up on a lot of things, and you know, it's quite incredible what he can do. I mean, that is absolutely... So that's going in the XD. See, it's got the hole in the right spot, just down there. Mine is elongated. It's actually the wrong one. It's the wrong lens, because I put it there and drilled it the wrong spot, as I said before, because, well, it's me. Also, there's this box here, and this is a modified... It's the master gauge for the XC with new electronics in it, the temperature gauge. And he said, all you have to do is just pop it in. It's plug and play. And there it is there. So what did he say about that? Okay. Also modified temperature gauge for the XC, which includes a solid state 5-volt voltage regulator. Apparently they will go. It's not a question of if, it's a question of will. Oh, when, sorry. The temperature gauge is the master gauge and provides 5 volts for itself and the fuel and oil gauges. Phenomenal. So I'll be taking the cluster out of the XC again to put this in, and I'll send him my old one. But this is incredible. I mean, I had no idea he was going to send this stuff. It is just so generous. So Harvey, again, yeah, I'm pretty well speechless. I don't know what to say. Thanks very much. Right, so today I sent away all the hydroblasting and electroplating for the 3 carburetors. One of the things I sent off was the back of this headlight switch. You can just unfold the tabs just a little way and it'll all come out. I wanted to see, oh crap, what was in here. In terms of wear, this doesn't look too bad. Just a little bit dry, but essentially there's very little in the way of wear on it. So there's 3 springs. That one looks to go in there. Yeah, that's how you release the headlight thing, the knob. And then we've got a spring in there and a spring there. I just want to understand this before I keep going. And these contacts are great. It just looks like it's been dragged through a swamp. If you look on the other side, it's very dirty, but mechanically it's fantastic, I think, or it certainly appears that way. So that's alright. I can just lubricate it, clean and lubricate this back piece, but I know how all that goes. As far as the rest of it's concerned, we've got a breaker there. That could be in place of a fuse, I'm not sure. And we've also got this rear stud on a ceramic thing. Just let me get a meter. 50 ohms. 20 ohms. It's just dirty, that's all. So how the heck does this come out? Or can we take it out? I'm not sure I want to take it out. I think we'll just leave it there. We'll give this a good clean and then put it together. And it looks like it's been in the outback. You know, if you look at this dust, it's like bull dust. You know, it's that stuff. So we'll clean it up. We'll have to use water. Then dry it out, use contact spray, and then put it back together. But that will come up beautifully, and you can see in here, all over those terminals, it's a little bit dark there. But that will all clean up beautifully. It's got actually very little wear on it. The wiper, yes, it swings all the way around. Yeah, something like that. We'll figure it out. But that's really, really good news. Excellent news. Right, let's have a look at these instruments. Of course, we'll start with the fuel gauge. And we've got a few parts. I've cleaned this up. That mask, it's a little bit sort of pitted around the exterior of that dome. It's the best I can do. And of course we've got a mask here. And of course here's our gauge with a freshly painted needle. Good idea to, if I can find what I've done with it, unwrap a new paintbrush. For dusting these off, because I've got a bunch of paintbrushes here, I always dust off with a new brush, unwrap it and use that, and so on and so forth. Now, a couple of things. I spoke to Harvey about these because I don't really know too much about them. We've got two wires going in. We've got a red one and a green one. There's nothing written anywhere on the case here or on the frame of the thing there, but there it is. So your 12 volt coming in is your set. Well, sorry, your sender is the green one, and your battery voltage is the red one. Now, Harvey had told me there's supposed to be an 82 ohm resistor in here, and I can't see it anywhere. But what I did is I pulled the back of this one off. This being the spare one. You can take the dial off, but you can't get the needle off, and I don't want to try that in case I damage it. You just get some circlip pliers onto a nut in here, and it's not a resistor. Well, I suppose it is a resistor, but it's more, it looks like an inductor. So if I pop that off, it's actually a wound coil behind there, which gives you the correct resistance. So if I get a meter, I'll do it your way so you can see. Hopefully you can see there. I'm just using baker's paper here. Can you see that? I hope you can see it. If I get a meter, put it onto ohms, get onto the power side, and then join that up with a lead here. And then it goes through that inductor looking thing and then winds up on the back of the gauge here. Let me see if I can get it. It doesn't look like I've got it. Hang on, what if I go here? It looks like a better contact there. I just had it before. There you go, 79.1 ohms. Now, 82 is what he said. Now, on the off chance that it has a ceramic resistor in there, he said 82 ohm 5 watt resistor, and have it with quite a lot of airspace around it in here, not touching anything, because they do get quite warm. That being said, this one has its little coil, and so I'm reasonably happy to leave that be, because it tests all right. There we go. So we'll just drop that in like that, and there's some hardware to screw it up there, so we'll do that. Alright, so that looks good. And there's this little mask, and there's a cutout down the bottom. Actually, there's a cutout at the top as well. Which way do these go? Does it matter? Hang on, let's have a look. What's on the lens? Is there a, well, come back. No. Where is the cutout on the lens? The cutout on the lens is pointing towards full, so that is going to go like that. Is that it there? That's it there. So it's only meant to go one way, and that's going to be how it looks. That looks rather dandy. So I know it goes on, just got to be careful of that. There it is there. That comes in from the little shadow mask thing. And then it's just a question of knocking those tabs over and trying not to mark it up while we do it. Is that all the way in? And that's why I'm using baking paper. Now you don't see any of this stuff. I mark it, I don't care. I'm just using these multis with a bit of fabric tape on them, and they're ground off. There's no teeth there, and they're like 99-cent ones. Like there's nothing at all valuable about them. So it's just one of the things I used on the motorcycles. Oh crap, that wasn't good. All right, I've got a couple of marks in there, but I don't reckon that looks too bad. So that's ready to go back in. Warning lights, the same thing. Fresh paintbrush. Very, very small screws and that sort of stuff. That mask looks like it goes in there like that. These screws are going to be fiddly suckers, but there's not much you can do. We can just sort of line them up like that and pop them in. And that is going to be kind of like that. And this is hard for me because I can't see a blasted thing, so I'm going to have to use some little pliers. I'll just use these ones, she'll be right. And my other glasses, where are my stronger ones? And then we'll just put that, just to hold that where it's meant to be. And then lob him on there, and that lines it up. And we know that we've got one on, we don't have too much trouble lining up the other one. Sweet. And they're all marked up. They're very well marked. Orange, green, dark green, grey, brown, blue. It shows you what they all do. Of course, if we, you've got your lights all in the right spot. So the same deal as before, a bezel and a mask. What do you call it? A lens. I think I've got one here that needs cleaning up. I think that's the best of the ones I've got, and it's a little bit cloudy and a bit murky, so I think we'll just buff that. It's murky on this side too. I need to clean that up, just a moment. A suggestion of Prepsol on there just to get rid of some of this dirt. We don't want it to affect the plastic, so I'm not going to douse it with the stuff, but I do want to make sure that all that grot's out of there. And it would have been most probable that this would be, all that crap could have been from storage, not from operation in the car or anything like that. But it's pretty stubborn stuff. Fortunately, some of it gets hidden though. The thing that bothers me though is that cloudiness. See that opaque sort of area in the center? So that's behind, and I didn't want to put anything behind those letters because that's where they're stamped from. I just use a standard buff with standard buffing compound, and I have it fairly slow. You just want to keep it moving because you'll feel heat getting into the plastic. It's got rid of all those marks now. The other thing to be careful of, I don't want too much compound on just because of those sort of green coloured lights. I don't want to see half green and half white. It's not that big of a deal, but I just don't want to see that. So I use this stuff the whole time it's refinish. It's very swirl resistant. Now the other thing we've got to watch out for is these domes just glued onto the outside. So I'm going to put my thumb on it as I do this. And that's probably right there. I think while I'm at it, I'll have a closer look in a moment. I just want to go over this thing. Now this doesn't have any notably big scratches in it. Of course there'll be none on the back, but I am hanging on to the back, so I'll have to clean it. I'll get fingerprints and that sort of stuff off. I'll just throw a little bit of compound on. You just got to be super careful of this because if it catches, you've lost it. So I've just got it tilted so it's coming off the edge of the lens itself. Because if it catches, like here at the bottom, it's gone. So I've just got to be super careful. Alright, let's have a look. That's not too bad. It's not perfect, but I don't want to put myself in a situation, particularly around there, where it was going to catch, so I'll do that by hand. Let's pop that there for a moment. Let's have a look at this guy. I've also filled that dome in with buffing compound, so we want to make sure we get that out because it'll eventually work its way out into the gauge face. Like I think it had a moth there before, and you know, it's just a beautiful piece. So I'll give that a bit more of a clean just to get that compound out. That compound can be sort of statically charged, and then that will sort of sit over the warning lights, not the gauge. But it's getting there, isn't it? It doesn't look too bad. That's a much healthier dome than the other. It's a nicer one. There's no pitting around the sort of circumference of the dome itself. But I like that. I'm happy with it. In popping this speedo together, it's missing this little deflector where it's come adrift. And that just sort of sits in there and the speedo goes around it. It deflects the light from the bulb into the high beam indicator. My other fasteners, these ones are being plated, so I'm just going to use these old ones until I get those back. But to stick this in, I'm just using a bit of hot glue. This probably won't work, but it's cheap and easy. We'll just see how that goes. I think it'll be gentler with this old material. That seems alright. Okay. Yeah. So this will just be temporary. It'll just hold it there for now, until I get the other hardware back from the plater, which isn't for, what is it today, Sunday? It's not coming back till Wednesday. So I'll just do that finger tight. And there's a bit of wiggle room there, but it'll be alright. Where is my clean brush that I had before? Here's my clean brush. I'll just undust it. There's also a sort of embellishing part here that's got your high beam indicator light there. Now I haven't painted this, I didn't want to, I wanted original. This stuff was from the gauge that was spare, but it ended up this sort of shadow mask, or this sort of mask, was in better condition on the other one, on the spare one, than it was on the original one, that, well, the one that was in the cluster. Right, so that little bloke goes in there. That doesn't look too bad. I'm reasonably happy with that. And we just pop this guy on, and it'll give us an idea of what this thing's going to look like. Whoopsie. Just got to get these ones on a bit tighter, and I think we'll call it a day with it. If I was to do this again, I would anneal those tabs, because they'll break the next time they're undone. But that looks lovely. So this is just a sort of a rough casting framework type deal. It would have been much easier if I just gave it to the blaster and said, here, can you clean this up? Because it would have taken him 2 seconds and cost about $10. But look, I don't think it's the end of the world just doing this. It's something you never see. It just offers a place for the instruments to sit and the little bezel to sit over the front. There's not much to it, really. I'm not going to put too much energy into this bit. I'm just sort of straightening this rail up with this bone, and then I'll straighten it against the framework because it's got a couple of kinks in it. This is just going to stretch it out a little bit, but not fast. That bottom one there is a little bit damaged as well, but I've got to find somewhere where I can just be gentle with it. I might need to get a... I've got to get something and knock that too. It looks very wrinkled around there. I've just got to get a block of wood. Basically straight. I reckon if I put it, I'm just getting some of the major stuff out of it. If I put it back on here, well, that's actually not that bad. Now let's just fold them down. Just to put it back where it was. Some 1200 and some 2000. I'll just use a bit of this. And there's also along here, there's a couple of scratches that I want to get rid of. And again, I'm not shooting for perfection. I mean, for a start, I'm not even that patient with this sort of stuff, but it'll give us an idea. Those scratches are quite deep. I might have to hit that with something else. Let's go along the top here, because I was worried about this bit too. Oops. Well, I think that looks fairly okay. I've got a work light behind there. I'll just throw this curtain over and just see what it looks like. It's try and mask some of that light in. Hang on a second. Oh, pretty. That doesn't look too bad, does it? I can move that light around and probably give you a better idea. Can I give you a better idea? Oh yeah, the odometer's lit up. But anyway, no, I'm quite happy with that. It's looking good. Right, so I've just got plating back. I asked for a couple of things. I thought silver would look pretty good on this because it's going to be a grey motor and there's no gold anywhere to be seen. And then I changed mine and thought, no, we'll go original. We'll do it silver. We'll do it gold, sorry. And then they got it wrong and they did it silver. So the bloke said to me, look, I can redo it if you want. I said, no, don't worry about it. So all I'm doing is I'm using all of the worst stuff. Well, we can use these for the Speedo, if you remember I've got them done for the back of the Speedo. But I'm using all the worst stuff on the carburettor, which was suited to the EK-EJ Auto. And we're just sort of, I've sorted through some of the stuff and basically just putting it all back together in some sort of order. The main jet's still there. I need to order the correct, what do you call it? Oh God, gee, that wasn't good. Where did that go? I need to order the correct gasket kits and, you know, other bits and pieces like that. So this is all just the rough and ready carby. I got it plated, everything done because it doesn't cost anything extra to get additional plating done, and it also doesn't cost extra to, or very little extra to get the bodies cleaned. And at some point they might suit somebody else. So it's just a question of going through these. There's a rusty one, there's a good one. Obviously I'm going to be keeping the good stuff for the other carbs, and that's the worst of those three. and just basically sticking it back together. But I think, and one of them was missing a choke as well, a choke flap. So they've still got their old gaskets in there. I'm not fussed about that. The main jet there I can get to later. I'm not worried about that either. And you know, it's just a sort of a fun thing, really, for me. And we can just get it in a place where you can see it. But this one had been left in the weather, this automatic one. But you know, it is what it is. It's all good fun. Worst accelerator pump. Actually, that's a pretty good one. It works. I'm sure I can drum up a worse one, but I think the kits come with new ones anyway, so I'll just stick that in nice and dry, of course. And a gasket. This is a pretty shocking looking gasket. Then we've got this arm. That's the worst of them. Of course, the other two turned out splendid. And that goes down into there. Can't remember what holds that in. What holds that in? Oh, circlet. So yeah, I'm just going to go around. No, there's a couple of jet things that go down the bottom of those, isn't there? Oh, I'm not very clever. I just threw the throttle body together. These are cast iron. Again, this was one that I've just thrown a bit of clear on just now. I've got on my finger just to stop it from rusting. Normally, carburettor reconditioners paint those black, so we'll let that go off a little bit further. And I'll just continue putting this together. It doesn't matter, it's not important. Where's the other thing? Here it is. You can see my ultimately spotless work area. And I'm going to put this, oh no, we've got to put the gasket on. We've got the little jet things down there. I've got to read up what they mean, or at least what the value is supposed to be for the, there's one under here and there's one under here. They're not jets, they're something else, I can't remember what they're called. And that little guy goes over there for the accelerator pump. Oh, it goes up, doesn't it? Right. What have I forgotten? Nothing much. I don't. Oh yeah, I've got to put this in. An old needle and seat, rather crusty. And we're using our AFS to put it on. What does AFS mean? Any effing size. And put the needle in there. And put the float in, which goes, I think, like that. And there's a clip that holds that in, but we're not going to do that. Which way does this go? Oh, upside down, clever. Goes like that. Can you see what I'm doing? Do you want to see what I'm doing? There we go. There's a little sort of clip that straddles the top of there to hold that in and sits up against that ledge, but we don't have to worry about that for now. The air horn is the 3001, this one. I'll take that little piece of wire off because that's how it differentiated when everything was getting cleaned, what went where. And a little power valve. I don't know if Holden call it a power valve, but I do. And we need some clippy pliers, and we'll tighten that up. And that guy goes down in there, and vacuum pulls that up and lets additional fuel in through the little jet down there. Oh, actually, before I do that, I might put the throttle body on. That might be easier. Yes, I believe it is. And then that goes in. Sort of like that. And then the opposite one does the same. God, get in there, you son of a gun. Use this one, it's a bit smaller, a bit more manageable. And already, like, you can see, this is a crappy carby, but it's not that crappy looking. It actually looks fairly cool. And the fact that I wanted gold and didn't get it, I don't think matters. I really don't. Because either way, it looks lovely. Now, some of these ones are dull too, like that one. That looks pretty crappy. Let's put that one in first. And that'll look pretty good. I don't think it matters which one we put in. There should be 3 of those. Where's the other one? The idle up screws. There's the dullest spring there. And it's just a map for the others to see that I can get them all sort of, you know. That's your idle screw, and there's the fast idle. So when the choke opens, that thing bumps the idle up. This guy here. And this one didn't have a choke butterfly on it, but it did have the rod. It didn't have the choke rod, sorry, which goes in there, or other way. I can't remember how these go. Does it go that way? Yes, it would go that way. And this carburetor didn't have one. So I've only got 2 of those, and I'll go on the ones that we're rebuilding properly, not doing a dodgy like this one. What else is there? I guess we've got to put that spring in, and this is the worst of the springs, and that's the worst of the little bolts, which I should have had plated and I didn't because I forgot, because I'm really clever. We've got these guys. They'll look pretty well the same. Can we just stick that in a cordless and clean it up a bit? Right, that's a good one. That's good. That's a bit loose. We'll use that. Okay, that spring's the wrong way. That goes that way. And rests against that arm. That's it. Alright. How it's going to look, the butterfly, this was missing a butterfly anyway, and that sort of holds that central. And then this rod here, which wasn't supposed to be on this carburetor, is the fast idle for when you pull the choke on, which is here. So, you know, it's kind of there. That's all working. That can come off. And this is just all made from the worst stuff. And you can see it is still presentable. The choke flap, and it's got a little bypass there. I didn't plate these because I just didn't want to do that rivet and the spring and all that sort of stuff. I just wanted to leave it. So there is the risk of these things corroding because they are a ferrous metal, but I'll just keep them lubricated until I'm ready to use them, and I think they'll be fine. But I just didn't think it was worth meddling with them. But they sort of sit in there, and that'll really clear or really sort of finish the carburetor off. But yeah, as I said, this is all the worst stuff, and you can see it doesn't look bad at all. I'm going to damage this speedo here. We've just got to make sure we get that level, because you can see it if it's not level. I'll just nip that up with the 7/8. I still haven't polished. I haven't got the attachment to sort of polish in these bits here. And look, to be quite candid, I don't really care that much. Make sure that is straight, sort of. No, it's not really. Would have been far more intelligent to do this before. So just sort of using these to lock together, just to throw these studs back in. We don't have to over tighten those. We just don't want them to come apart again. Oh no, that fits. That goes the other way, doesn't it? I think the bowls go forward. Yes, they do. Sweet. Okay, we'll tighten these up. And so, whoa, this is a little tapered gas thread, I think, isn't it? Hang on a minute. There's the rod, and this had it was actually quite, I feel a little bit dodgy how it works, because you've got no bush in there. It's got a split pin either side, but there's not really that much room for a washer in there. So you've got the split pin chafing on the manifold. You almost need two very thin, 5/16 washers. I might fettle with that a little bit, because I'm not great with it. The carburettor, actually, where's this one? That goes something like that. I might actually bolt that down so I can see exactly where these guys go. So does it pull down to open it, does it? I'm not loving that. So I can't say I'm awfully certain how this goes. I don't know about this thing. I don't like the look of that. It looks bent, and bent never looks that great. Just going to take these out. These things hanging on like crazy, and I've got to put split pins in there, or washers in there first, I think, and then that one goes over this side. Have I got anything going to be that's going to be thin enough to stick in there? I might just pop splitties in it for now, just to hold it. And I'm going to have to get some really, really thin washers. Because if you look there, that's just not great. I don't like it. I really don't like it. But that's the only way at this point that I'm going to make it sort of workable. I'm just going to put those on. These are really hard splitties. But I will be modifying it significantly before I use it, if that's the case. I'm just not feeling great about it. It just isn't good enough, basically, for what I want. I mean, there's not much slack in there. I mean, there's a little bit, but it's kind of doable. And once we can figure where these guys go. So the other thing is they've got that, that might be the wrong way. They've got these things here, which I'm assuming goes around there. Sometimes it's easy just using new fasteners. I bought a whole box of 1/4 inch fine for the BMC stuff I've been doing. And the ones that came out are probably the same anyway. They're the same length, they're probably the same thread. I don't know. I don't think it matters much. And so sometimes it's just easier to use new hardware. It's not original, but the manifold's not original either. But I really don't think that's important at all, to be quite candid. And that all fits on beautifully. So we'll just, you know, finger tied it for now. And some of them have been messed around with, or a bit bent and all that sort of stuff, but I can still make it look good. And I still maintain that in silver it does actually look better than having gold in it as well, just because it's going on a grey, and it's just going to look lovely, I think. Even, it's just a cool fact, you know what I mean? So yeah, I'm just going to have to fiddle with it. It is a little bit clunky and needs a clevis pin through here. I've got some somewhere. I don't even know where I put them now. I had some small clevis pins, but I'll need them to set this all up properly, if you know what I mean. But just for sort of sitting there, I think that's going to be alright. And of course, in taking that out, I can sort of position this one down here in a similar sort of spot. This one's got a bend, and I'm just going to straighten that, I think. Anyway, I'm going to go into more detail with carburetors and this sort of thing later. It doesn't have to be done now. That's just, as I said before, sort of an amass of all the crappy parts I've got. This, on the other hand, some of the bits I don't like about it. That's bent and needs to be straightened. I can't set that up yet. And it's just a little bit clunky for my like. I might actually make some bits that fit better and sort of work a lot better. But I can't sort of do that until I've got the car, and I've got the car almost finished actually, because then I can see how the engine bay linkage works, or the sort of throttle linkage works, and how it's all going to marry up with this. But I might actually remake this. I might put bushes in here. I don't know. We'll just see how it goes. But for now, it actually looks pretty good, and it's a nice old-fashioned bit of kit. The thing we need to do is clean this up a little bit further, and we've got that back now, so we can put all that together and lubricate it, do all of that, but that sort of thing. But I might wait till the next video. It's cold, it's late, I need dinner, I don't want to go inside. So, on that note, thanks very much for watching. Take good care of yourselves, and I'll see you soon. What do you reckon? Jesus.